Good morning. I think we can all agree that we can thank Tommy for that inspiring Franklin expedition image. If we could get that back up here, that was really helpful for me. So, my name is Kurt Zieger. I've been a member of Advent since it was on Columbia Road, Columbia Street, where the chandeliers were pretty sure they were going to fall on us. And my wife, Meriwether, and two children, we have attended since we've been married for 8 years. And the way that we are thinking about this and that we've approached this is ultimately made a decision that we are all in and fully committed. I'm sure as many of you have been, but to put some wheels on that, the way that looks for us, like many of you, likely give 10%. You probably tithe 10% of your income to church, to the local church. And so as we talked about what this would mean for our family, what this would mean for future generations, what this would mean for the church, we decided to tithe an additional 10%. So 20% of our income for the next 2 years going to the church, 10% for the normal kind of giving, and then an additional 10% for specifically for, hey, we need money to buy a church. So what does that look like? How did we arrive at that? Very practically speaking, we just took something that I really love, and we've just moved it over in the way we think about our money. So I love home projects, and that's just something that I really, really enjoy watching, doing things to our home. And so we've just kind of put that on hold and said, for the next 2 years, we're going to take that money that we would have been putting towards fixing up our house and making additions and doing things that we would like to do, and we're going to give that to the church. And that's really, temporarily, in the grand scheme of things, a very short period of time to be giving to our church home in that manner. I've also become a huge fan of Dave's Killer Bread because I eat it every lunch, because I don't go out to lunch anymore. It's Dave's Killer Bread and some turkey. And that's like $15 a day that just doesn't get spent, and that's actually pretty amazing. The other way that we put legs on how do we give 20% without giving irresponsibly is a little ashamed to say, but we did a budget. So we've kind of had budgets, but we did good budget, which is sort of like the envelope method, but electronically. And it just lays out how much money you've allocated for these different areas of your budget for the month, and then you just watch it go down. And we've been doing that, and so we have some monthly things that we're spending on, and then our annual things that we're spending on, and it really helps you keep track. Like, we can spend a little bit more on our vacation because we're coming near the end of the year, or we can't, and that helps us kind of keep track so we're not giving irresponsibly. And then the other way that we thought about it was, there were some lively conversations in our household about it. This wasn't like, we just arrived at it. We did have to work at where we thought this should land. And we thought, let's give this percentage. And we thought, okay. And then we thought, well, why don't we give to it hurts a little bit? So the 20% hurts a little bit. And again, that's the idea of this commitment. It is limited, but the commitment that we'll have to give to kind of get to where we need to go. I do have a sense, and I'm not any part of the discussions with the church leadership, but I do have a sense it's going to probably cost more than than we're thinking about. And so, just digging down and saying, how do we get into a building that's going to be the appropriate size for our congregation in the District of Columbia, that's going to accommodate our fairly large congregation. And so, today's the day. So dig deep. And I know everyone's been having, conversations, and everyone's been thinking about this, but that's how we've thought about it. And really, I am very much I love buildings and I love space. I grew up on a dairy farm, and I feel very informed by space. And my wife is not as much, and she was kind of like, well, you know, how important is this? Can't we just continue to lease? And that was an ongoing conversation. Really, we ended up in the same spot. And how we got there is that we realized, you know, we're not Gnostics. We believe that the physical world is important, that it informs us, and you know, sort of to unpack that just very shortly, is that the idea is that a building, the building we're in, for instance, you drive up, you see it, it's just there. It's an ongoing presence. It informs us about the permanency of Christ in a way that, you know, a non-space doesn't. And so we interact with it. I know Meriwether in times of grief has gone to convents, you know, routinely, and those convents are spiritual, holy, still spaces that nourished her, but they're also made of stone and cement and timber. And so it's real practical. We've got to give a lot of money, and we've got to raise that money, and we've got to pledge and give sacrificially, but it's also incredibly spiritual. And so it all dovetails together. So I really appreciate you listening and taking the time to hear. And it's not going to be the Franklin expedition. That was just an image at the beginning of the service. It's going to be awesome. Thank you.